Hey guys, it's Ann here, and today's video, I'm going to talk to you about leadership. But before you hit pause or start snoozing, this is really something that you can get started with even if you don't have a team, even if you're never planning on having a team. And really, it's going to open your mind about what leadership is in general, because as you'll find out, leadership is way more than just being someone's boss or being a good manager. So today, let's dive right in. Okay, so we all start our businesses with tons of challenges, especially in the online space, and that's really what I'm going to refer to here. The online world, there's lots of tech barriers to getting you up and running. There's also just a ton of personal, can I do this? And getting people to pay attention, the marketing. There's so many things that you have to do as an online business owner that it's no wonder that this one little piece, leadership, gets kind of like pushed to the side. So we think that we have our blog or we have our website, we create our products. Ooh, we're so busy, we got to hire people. That's all it means to be a leader, is knowing when to hire. But actually, leadership starts way before that. And it actually starts the second you start sharing your experience in an effort to teach somebody else something or to teach them not to do something. So that word thought leadership is that very thing. Being a leader starts the second you start educating people or sharing your experience, like I said, in an effort to show them something that they hadn't thought of before, or to teach them how to wrong mistakes they've done in the past, or just to help them improve what they're already doing or a life that they're living. So I just find that this leadership kind of piece gets kind of left to the side. And what I want to say is this video today is for you. Even if you don't have a team, if you have started sharing your experience, if you do have a team, if you're thinking about building a team or a bigger business, even if you're thinking about having partners, there's a certain type of leadership that has to happen through all of these. And so today I thought I'd share with you a few ways. At first I was going to call this, "Are you a good leader?" But I really do feel like some people are born or grow up with just a natural inclination to lead. And some others, you just learn it over time. And I will totally out myself to say that, I feel like I've been a mix of both. I have definitely been leading my sisters down various rabbit holes since I was a little kid, but once I got out into the world, there was a confidence piece that wasn't there yet. And so I much rather listen, absorb, and the other piece of it is that I'm an introvert, even though it might not seem that way if you meet me and hear my obnoxious cackling. But regardless, I feel like everybody is fit to lead, and you just need to know a few key things to do and to stop doing to make yourself a better leader. So when you are a good leader, you're going to understand what you need to delegate to and who to delegate those things to. You're going to be able to set boundaries and make sure that you don't just throw things to various people without knowing the impact of that on your business. You're going to be able to let those people just do their work and not be their micromanager. Not the micromanagers necessarily in the Lego movie, but that's a side note. Whenever I say micromanager, Mila kind of snickers. So in addition to letting those people do their work, though, you as a leader are going to be able to identify some hidden talents or hidden genius zones that you can encourage them. So you'll be able to encourage people to grow, which that's where the audience leadership comes in. You will hopefully hire more of the right people. I don't want to say that happens across the board, because even the best of us, you think you're getting the right person and they end up not being the right person. And then also, you're going to be able to steer your business and guide your members of the team in the right direction. If there are problems, you'll know which general direction to push things to make sure that you're all headed in the same flow. So some of these qualities and Actually, not even qualities, things that you can just start doing now. All really, as I was creating the content for this, outlining this, I realized I'm like, well, they're all kind of under this one heading of be a better example. And just like in the video that I did last week, if you didn't catch that, I'll link it below. But I did talk about the 3 qualities to look for in other people. But hint, you look for them in yourself as well. And you look for ways to do that for yourself so that it kind of trickles down from there. An ineffective leader is potentially hiring ineffective people and people who aren't going to get the job done. People are going to cut. If you cut corners, your team's going to cut corners. So think about how you behave and be a better example. So places where you might think, okay, how can I be a better example? Where does this show up? Whether you're working a lot or a little, that sets the pace for your entire team. So be an example for the type of work that you want them to do. Now, it doesn't mean you have to work as many hours, but you have to clearly be responsive and consistent and expect the same from them. That's the only way that you can get people to be proactive, is be proactive yourself. Reach out to them, let them know that they're doing a good job. You have to be proactive if you want people to be proactive back to you. And another thing regarding setting examples, this is an interesting one, and it's all about expectations. And if you consistently have kind of unrealistic expectations, then your team is probably not going to give you, or you're just not going to have a good grasp of reality of what it's going to take to get things done and deliver them and to make more sales and to get more people onto your list or whatever it is that you're trying to do. In the realm of having a team, setting expectations is super important, because if you're constantly off the mark, then people around you actually start to skew the expectations that they share with you. If you ask them, oh, well, how long do you think this will take to get done? They're going to give you the wrong feedback on that just to please you, because they know your expectations are a certain level. So if you, for instance, think that a blog post should only take like an hour, and you have a writer who's like, yeah, that's not going to be done. Well, that'll be done in 15 minutes or an hour as well, when really what they need is a day, then they may give you something that's kind of not accurate. So again, as well as expectations just on work, just day-to-day tasks, having the right expectations about your launches even. And okay, we're going to add 5,000 people to this list, and that means we're going to have that grows our list 20% more, so we're going to have 20% more sales. If you start doing those types of math equations that aren't actually ever accurate, I'm sorry, they haven't been in my world and the people that I work with, then you're also setting up some kind of false hope for people. And I think kind of going into it saying, I'd really like to grow our list by this much. Here's how many people we'd like to have in the program. And then when you kind of review everything at the end, you could say, well, we got what we wanted there, but we didn't get what we wanted there, or we got the sales we wanted, but the lead growth wasn't there. That's cool. At least we're engaging people on the list, or vice versa. So setting expectations is huge, and it's a big part of getting people to give you clear and honest, setting your expectations for what they're doing. Also, it becomes really hard to work with people if you are constantly expecting things to move faster than they really are. And I would always shoot low with expectations as far as like people's turnaround time, because there's so many variables to getting it right, whether it's a developer who's got to finish your sales site, or it's a copywriter who's writing emails for you. The creative process takes longer than we think. So it's better to pad that timing. And this is what I always say to the fearless launchers: pad your time, because you're going to be disappointed if you don't, because things happen, life happens, various random things happen in human beings' lives. And all of a sudden your your website isn't ready until 3 weeks after the fact. Plus, there are other variables, like if you have a project manager and you want them to check in on something could have happened to them and they didn't check in on it. So adjust your expectations, and especially with launches, this is a big one. I always like to set my expectations based on my current state of kind of existence. I have like projections like, oh, I would like to grow this much during this launch, or I'd like to do this many sales, or I want this much of a conversion rate, or I want to improve this and that and the other thing. But I always start with my current state. So if you've got X number of people on your interest list for your launch, go with that as your baseline for your expectations. Don't expect the list to grow. Don't expect the sales. Work towards them, but look at where you are right now. Then the other one, this is a little bit more, this is a little bit harder to kind of not justify, but really see clearly. But I think that it's important to take some time, especially if you're thinking of hiring people, to think about your personal values and just write them down. LKR Social Media, I just recently went, I don't know why I did this, but I went to their About Me, About Us page, and you can go there too. And at the very bottom, they actually display their values. And I remember being there when we created that values list, and it really helped us every single time we wanted to work with a new company, or we were creating a new landing page. Everything we did kind of came off those values. And that's how important it is. From the people you surround yourself with, to the projects you say yes and no to partners you want to work with and don't want to work with, it all kind of goes into those values. And you may have heard values all the time from people, but that's what it's about. It's like you can just come up with like 2 or 3 values that you always want to make sure you hit. Like, okay, things have to be super dorky and kind of obnoxious and make me laugh. Those are obviously not going to be, those aren't all my values, but they have to make me laugh sometimes. I am often too serious, and so I like to inject that into the way that I do work, the way that I hang out with people, the way that I interact even with my clients. So humor is one of my values, and that lighthearted humor has to be part of it. Or else, what is it? I like to laugh. So think about your values and think about something that's really important to you. And if you get on an interview with someone, or you just start talking to whatever, even if it's like a company you're going to work with to do SEO, and the person doesn't kind of make you snicker a little bit, then maybe I'm not with the right person. You see what I mean? So look for those values that are really important to you. Define 2 to 3 of them right now that, you know what, I need people around me who do this, this, and this. That's all you have to do. And then the final one, this is a hard one for me. This is really difficult. I want to say that. And I say that from the bottom of my heart because I am a generally kind-hearted person, but I get attached to people. And that means that my boundaries really aren't as in check as they should be, because I do think that as a really effective leader, you do have to have a boundary. It's just like being a parent. You can't be friends all the time. And you know what? I've tried, and I think that more and more these days, people are trying to be friends with their kids. And I think that's important to have a friendship with your kids, but that's not all you are. There has to be a clear, I'm the parent, I'm the one guiding you here, and you need to listen to me. Or else they don't listen to you. And I think often that's why Mila talks back to me. And it's also why people, so, I have been working on that. This is my piece of the puzzle that I'm working on, because I've gotten really good at pacing myself, not expecting more or less from people who I work with than I do myself, not, sticking to my values, making sure I know where people stand on that, and really adjusting my expectations. But the friends bit, that's a tough one for me, because I do think there are some relationships where it's okay, but if you have a support staff where you're friends with every single person, then they're going to feel like there's a line that gets crossed constantly when you are that close with your team. And that's all I can say, is that it becomes harder to reprimand them if they do something wrong. It gets hard to let them go, whatever whatever the case is, and it gets harder to just manage them. I mean, I think of the time, for example, when I was working with my husband. We weren't married yet. We were working at the Discovery Channel. We were working on, oh God, what was it? Oh yes, I was producing the Giant Squid, the mystery of the giant squid. If you've seen any of the Giant Squid episodes, which I think they edit and re-edit them at this point, but if you see any of those CG squid things, the really good ones, the ones that almost look real, they actually reprimanded us for that because they look too real and they didn't want to fool anybody. But anyways, so my husband was the lead animator on that project. I generally didn't work on projects with him. So it was really hard to get him to do anything. He would like come back at me on every piece of feedback that came from Discovery. And he'd be like, well, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, dude, I'm your boss. Would you say that to this other producer who's here? So be careful, because just imagine the worst case scenario of working with your spouse or soon to be spouse. At that point, though, I was questioning it. But yeah, so it's definitely been interesting through the years, because I've made that mistake. I've worked with people who I've made my friends and I've gotten close to outside of work, and it is very tough. So I think that you can be friendly and you can care about the people you work with on a deep level, but make sure that they respect you. Make sure you keep those boundaries. And I think that you can do that by, setting expectations and work ethic and making sure they know that while you're friendly, they need to always remember that you are their boss. And if that's the case, and whether it's a company you're paying to do something for you, like a website, or, maybe you just have outsourced things. But definitely someone who's working on your team day to day, like a VA or whatever, they work for you. You don't work for them. Remember that. And yes, I know I always talk about, ownership and all that good stuff, which is great. But there is definitely a line that can get crossed with the friends. So those are my leadership tips for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and leave me a comment below and letting me know if you've struggled with any of these ways of being a better example as a way to be a better leader. So have a great one. Enjoy your rest of your Sunday. And if you're not subscribed, hit the button on this page and come back next Sunday, because I'll have more for you. And yeah, that's it. Okay, have a great one. Bye.